Hey guys, welcome to the live. Hi Ellie, hi Tony, hi Rennie, Marsha, hey Renee, hey guys, hi Santa. Welcome. Welcome to the live. So yeah, before we begin, let's first call in ourselves. So our higher levels, the higher frequencies and tones that are outside of us. Okay, let's actually bring ourselves in. Okay, and then that means putting everything that is not you, that has nothing to do with you, outside of you. Okay, so that includes the ego, mass consciousness, all of the cords, the ties, the energy games, the back and forth that has maybe been going on with other people in your life. Let's put that outside of you and let's have a party. So that's why we're here on the planet, is to enjoy ourselves. So believe it or not, okay, that's what the new paradigm is about. So and I want to explain. So the theme is out of the matrix and the old paradigm versus the new paradigm. So I want to explain a little bit what that is all about. So, and indeed it is exciting, but first let me get a drink. So um, Ellie says, welcome back, I thought you was gone, ran off with your horse and never came back. um, Hi Rennie. Hey guys. So yeah, so I want to explain what the new paradigm is, okay? So that we're all clear and really start to, so as much as possible, I recommend watching the lives twice, okay? Once, in what we're used to doing is perceiving things through the mind. So just your consciousness is here, and then perceiving everything through the mind, which is a computer, and putting everything into boxes because the mind has been programmed through the ego. So filters and judgments. So listening to it that way, and then tuning into it again and feeling it's more exciting this way, okay? Feeling into it from the heart, okay? So there's two ways to listen to things, look at the world, from one, from the mind that's been has all these filters of fear and decisions and judgments, and then another way is feeling into it and feeling the love from the universe, okay? The love that you are, and then connecting heart to heart with every being in the universe and on the planet. So, which is much, much, much more expansive, okay? When you're in the mind, then you're in a box. So, and how much fun is it to be in a box? So that's where we've created this perception, and it is real when you give it energy and you make it real for yourself, but the perception that this is a prison planet. So yes, it feels like a prison when you project your consciousness into a box, and then there's a perception, then you're not really sure how you got there, and it feels like you're stuck there. So what we're doing right here right now is coming out of the box, so literally coming out of the ego, coming out of the mind and into the heart. So it's not something where you maybe have been doing things in the past where you listen to something and, oh, I'm just going to change my point of view or change my way of thinking, and then things will be better or whatever, or think in terms of love and light. So that's still all from the mind. It's actually about taking all of those filters off and feeling into it. Okay, so, and it is not, so I am smiling and laughing, okay? But that doesn't mean that every moment of coming back to the heart is going to be full of laughter and smiles. So when the ego dies, it feels like you're dying. And you cannot die, you are eternal, but it's the ego that's dying. But I want to go back a little bit. So to explain the old paradigm and what it actually is and how we got there. So, but let me get a beverage first. So Francis says, I want out too. Yeah, we want out of the box. So exactly. I don't like boxes either. See, you can go consciousness, you and I, is always growing and always expanding. So when you put yourself in a box, you can't go anywhere, can you? So you can only go as far as the box. So let's take the box off so that we can continue to grow, right? It's like telling, well, a tree, if a tree had a human perspective, or if creation and the plants and the animals did what humans did, but we'll use a tree as an example. So the tree is growing and then it starts to make decisions that for some reason it can't grow, or it's not really supposed to do that, or blah, blah, blah. And then it starts to put itself in a box and make it smaller. And then the tree, it's not really that the tree stops growing, it just, there's a lot of resistance and it makes it well, it's not as fun and it makes it harder. But the old paradigm, how we got here. So, well, we created these beautiful bodies. Surprise, surprise. So, surprise, we're the creators. So it's just that we can't perceive how we created the body through the mind. Okay, so we're the ones, consciousness created these bodies, human bodies, for us to have fun with, for us to play with, and for us to experience ourselves in a physical reality. Okay, so, and back then, times where the energy was very, very dense. Okay, so there's a little bit of the light that comes into the body that gives the body life, and then the rest of you is outside of the body. And what happened is because consciousness stayed in the mind, started to make decisions and judgments, and picking up on that little impulse of fear, okay, that tries to protect the body, the ego, right? So the ego just by itself will say stuff like, hey, don't jump off a cliff. If I'm riding and Chance and I are about to go over the jump, I hear the ego, well, you might die. It's probably best to not do that. So that's just by itself what it does, okay? But humans came in, and there's a perception that because you are so big and then the part of you that's in the body is so small, or we created the perception that we're separated from ourselves, we're separated from all that is. Okay, it's a judgment. Okay, and then we went into bought into the ego, okay, that we are the ego, and made all of these decisions and judgments about who we are, okay, that are all fear based. And the mind is innocent. The mind is just a computer, but because we bought into the ego, the mind's programmed through the ego, which created all of these filters. Okay? So all of these judgments, all of these decisions about who we are, we're the ones who bought into them, who created them, and we created the box. Okay? Which is why the Galactic Federation, okay, Valnek, whoever, cannot come down and save us from anything, because we're finding out who we are, number one. It's very important that humanity goes through this, okay? And number two, cannot save us from our own creation, okay? So if we're not having fun with all of this, okay, that's great. So let's move into the heart. So let's move out of it, okay? And that's what's going on right here, right now. It's very exciting, and some are aware of what's going on, or more conscious of it. Everyone's really aware, but some are more conscious of it than others, okay? Uh, so so yeah, that's what we're doing, is we're coming out of the ego, okay, coming out of all of those judgments. It's an energetic thing. It's not about making more judgments or trying to find the truth outside of yourself, or yeah, whatever. It's about, where have I bought into, where am I making myself smaller, and what what is triggering the ego? What am I so afraid of? And moving from that point, taking a look at it and taking the energy out of it. Okay. And then slowly over time, the ego dissolves. Okay. That little bugger. And then the mind is actually taking direction from you, the part you, okay? And it becomes much, much, much more clear. So you're taking all of the programming, all of the filters off of the mind, so it can be your tool to express who you are, okay? So, so that's what we're doing right here, right now. So, and it is very exciting. It just feels, yeah, it can feel when all of the density, when all of that stuff is coming up. So it doesn't, yeah, it doesn't feel good. So, so it can feel like, well, death, okay, but it's really the ego that is dying, not you. So you are eternal. So the body can pass on, okay, and it goes back to the earth. And not even really the body goes out of existence. It's just changes forms. So it becomes dirt or whatever. And then the only thing that really goes out of existence is the ego. So that's what we're doing right here, right now. So let me get a beverage. And it's this. So because humanity has bought into the ego, okay, the fear, really, it's the lower chakras that have taken over, okay? So money, sex, power, greed, and really it's and that's really what has created the matrix, okay? That's why I labeled this out of the matrix, because the matrix is a bunch of boxes, right? So we're coming out of the minds, coming out of all of those fear boxes of fear and into the heart, and that's the new paradigm, okay? So the heart is the one that is taking over, and we're coming out of the lower chakras, are really ascending, okay, and opening the heart. So no filters, no judgments, just fun. Sarah says, and I hope I can stay in peace in my circle. However, today it feels the opposite. Yeah, it's not. See, okay, the more you walk your walk and talk your talk, the easier it gets. But that the walk is still, it can be perceptively difficult. Okay. And I'm laughing because I have been walking my walk and talking my talk, and it, yeah. So I know how it feels. Okay. So, and it does feel like you are the odd one out, like you don't fit in, and everyone has bought into, they're playing their games and they've bought into mass consciousness. And the more you come back to yourself, the more you see it, okay? But the less it bothers you or affects you, because you have your higher levels. So walking the earth, not needing anything, not wanting anything. The creator doesn't know what wanting is. It is the creator. Okay. But coming from a place where you are healthy, whole, and complete within yourself. So, but it does, everyone actually, if you really had a conversation with people, feels like they never fit in. Okay. And that would be totally and completely accurate for everyone. So, how can the creator fit into a box? And we can't, right? So some people are just trying harder than others, okay, to fit in, and it's a playground. So they're buying into whatever they're buying into because they're having fun with it. They're trying to find out more about themselves, okay? So that's what they're doing. So why would we stop them, right? So they're on the path back home, and you may see it differently, right? But that's what they're doing is about them. And then if it triggers you, then that's about you or your ego, and that's for you to address. So, so these, every experience, everything that you've created for yourself, your friend group, your circle, is beneficial, okay, for your path. So otherwise you wouldn't be there, right? So you would just move on to something else. So everyone is exactly where they're supposed to be, even though it doesn't feel like it or it feels like hell. So it's totally understandable. So let's come out of hell. So what have you bought into? What makes you so, what feels so uncomfortable about what's going on around you, right? So wanting, part of it is wanting peace, wanting everyone to get along, right? And yeah, I don't blame you. Like it would be uh well, see, the thing is, everybody is getting along. It's just because you are pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness. Okay, I am pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness. So is every being in the universe. Okay, so how can pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness not get along with each other? Okay, so what's not getting along with each other is the egos. Okay, so the masks that people put on, the identities that they believe or buy into that they are. Okay, so it's the egos that don't get along, and egos don't get along with anybody. So it's, they are egocentric, right? They're all about protecting themselves. All of these judgments, these decisions, people still perceive themselves to be the ego. Okay, so that's who they believe they are. They believe their judgments, they believe they are their beliefs, they're the mind. And that's still humanity. It's still very prevalent, right? But we're coming out of it. So all of these judgments, these beliefs, they don't get along with each other, right? So but trying to get them to see it your way or wanting them to change, okay, it's actually the same energy, right? So they're wanting you to change, you're wanting them to change. So how do we get out of this situation? How do we get out of this box? Okay, let's address the part of you that feels so alone, that needs others to see it your way or get along or change for you. Okay, you as yourself, in yourself and through yourself would never want to change anyone. Okay, we're all perfect just the way we are, but it's this part that feels all alone. And if others were peaceful or did it my way, then I wouldn't feel so alone. Okay, so we've all been doing that back and forth for eons, and it hasn't worked. The only thing that can complete you is you, right? So everyone, it's like, let's use religion as an example. So because that's a wonderful example of the old paradigm. Okay, so they, and we can use Christianity. It's the one that I knew best because that's in this lifetime how I was raised, right? So they all believe the same thing, right? So there's a God, and then there's Jesus, and Jesus saves us, and he died on the cross. They all believe the same thing. So if that were true, the judgment of the ego, that if we all believe the same thing, then I won't feel so alone, then millions of people would feel healthy, whole, and complete within themselves, right? But that hasn't happened. So religion is a perfect example. All of those dear ones believe the same thing. They have the perceptively the same beliefs, but they all still feel like something is missing. Okay, and it's what is missing is not the energy, the love from others. It's actually your higher levels that is waiting to join you within this physicality. Okay, so there are no chosen ones. There is nothing outside of you that can complete you. Only your higher levels can complete you. My higher levels complete me, and so on and so forth for everyone. So there are no chosen ones for other people. You're the chosen one for you. I'm the chosen one for me, and everyone else is the chosen one for themselves. It's very simple, okay? But I know it feels, because there's so much density, there's so much stuff in the subconscious, right? It feels, it becomes very complicated, and there's emotions involved with all of this, okay? I laugh at my ego because my ego is very dramatic. So, and let me explain the emotional part of it. Okay, so we are pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness. Okay, so where do the emotions of sadness, grief, anger, even happiness, where do those come from? Okay, and they're created in the mind. Okay, so I've used this example on Patreon before, but I'll use it again because we're sharing with our friends on YouTube. So when you perceive yourself to be the body, right? You are the body, and you perceive others to be the body. It's a decision, it's a judgment, okay? Little babies, they haven't bought into mass consciousness or the ego, so they don't have that judgment yet. That's why they feel so open, okay? All of us are like that at the core of it, but we have put ourselves in boxes. But, anyways, so we perceive ourselves to be the bodies, and then we have a loved one that's very close to us, and their body dies, okay, and we perceive that it's them, and then we experience grief, okay, sadness, anger, all of that. So, and that's created from the judgments that we've made, so from our belief systems, okay. So all of that is, so again, why can't a savior figure come down and save us from all of that anger, sadness, and all of that stuff that feels so heavy? Well, it's because we created it. What's the root of what's causing it is our judgments. So, and we're the ones who made them, so we're the only ones who can get out of them. Does that make sense? So, hey, it's Tony Danza in the chat. Hey, so yeah, so that's that. So all of that's why it feels so heavy too, because we've suppressed so much, and all of that dense old energy is stuck within the body, okay, and stored within the emotional body. So when you come out of the judgments or when the ego is dying, all of that energy is released. So crying, even detoxing, like sweating and stuff like that. But mostly for myself, a lot of times it's crying, and yeah, a lot of crying, a lot of crying. So, and I see someone on Patreon, I will just make this short and sweet, was talking about she was shivering and she wasn't cold, but then that feeling of resentment was gone. And exactly. So the body has to get rid of these emotions, these dense energy, that all of this stuff that is not you, so that more of you can come in. So, Maria from Patreon experienced shivering. People experience it different ways, even pain, okay, feeling aches and pains. That's a way that the body can release stuff. For me, mostly crying. So, so letting all of these emotions up and out. So it's yeah. So the body is your friend, and it's bringing all of this stuff that is not you up and out to the surface. So, um, Marcia says, will the ego ever completely die? So yeah, that's a great question. So that's what I was discussing, is the old paradigm, and that's what we're coming out of. Okay, where we're experiencing the love that we are, and really finding out without all of this stuff. So all of the egos, all of the judgments together, that's mass consciousness. Okay, so like societal norms, um, you have to, you're born and then you're supposed to go to college and get married, and it's supposed to be this way and that way. Those are all judgments, beliefs, and it's mass consciousness. Okay, um so again, so we're finding out who we are, what we most enjoy, and experiencing it without all of that crapola. Okay, without all of that hoopla. Okay, so do you really enjoy, is having children something you would really enjoy, or are you just doing it because that's what society says you should do? right? Do you really enjoy going to church, or are you doing it so you please your family, or it's because what society tells you what you should do, okay? Or that's what society says. So coming out of all of that and really finding out what you most enjoy, and moving from that split place, and then of course experiencing yourself in a physical reality, is the new paradigm. So that's what we're coming into. That's what is in store for humanity, and words do not do it justice. Okay, so even words make by nature define stuff and make stuff smaller. Okay, so even that's why it's best to tune into it, to feel into it, to really yeah, to really feel the excitement. So Marsha's asking, will the ego ever completely die? So yes. Okay. We've we've discussed it before. So one way the ego can die and does die is when you leave the body. Okay? So when you leave the body, the ego is no longer getting energy anymore, so your energy comes out of it and you die. Or you don't die, but the ego dies and you move on. So that's one way to do it, okay? And that's the old paradigm. And what we're doing right here, right now, is the ego is dying and actually more of us is coming in. So we're not leaving the body in order for the ego to die. Okay. Some will still do it the old paradigm way. Okay. We're at the very beginning of all of this. Okay. So some will still choose to do it, leave the body and come back in a different one, and then go as far as they can go. So that's really up to them, and how far you go is up to you, right? So what other people do, whether they transcend the ego, has no bearing, has no effect on you, unless you, of course, buy into that what others do affects you, then it will. But why would you? So it just depends on how far you want to go in this lifetime, right? So if you want to say, I want to transcend it completely. I used to be like, okay, I'm just going to get this far and then we'll see how far I'm going to go. And then I'm like, no, I'm going to keep going. And then it's just step by step. And then I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do it completely. Right. So it's kind of like, at least for myself, I kind of used to do this when I'm training my body to run. Okay, so I'm just gonna run 5 minutes and then that's it. And then I say, okay, well, I'm gonna run 10 minutes and see. And then no, I'm gonna run 20 and then 30 and then 40 or whatever. So it's just step by step and then seeing how far you want to go. So it will completely die if you take all of your energy out of it. You're the only one giving it life. So it is absolutely possible. Okay, you are the creator. It's just your choice. How much fun are you having in those sandboxes? Okay? And some are still having a lot of fun in those sandboxes. So money, sex, power, greed. I kill you, you kill me. I throw a fiery ball at you, I stab you in the back, and blah blah blah, and being upright and justified, right? So how much fun are you having in those sandboxes? And if the answer is no, I'm ready to come out of them, then yes, then the ego really starts to die big time. Okay, so it's up to each and every individual, and then it's like a thought in the back of your mind, for me at least, like like again, and it just becomes quieter and quieter and quieter until it's like a grain of sand. Okay, so for me, yeah, when I'm riding chance and maybe we're about to go over a jump, I might have the thought come in, but it's just a thought and it flies right on by, right? So it's just something that is there to, in the past, was needed actually, to so that we wouldn't, because if we came into the body and then just walked off a cliff or fell into a river or did whatever, then we'd have to keep starting over and over and over again. So at one point, it was beneficial to have the ego, okay, just that thought there, but then it became something bigger and we perceived it to be us. Okay, so it's just a thought, okay, and that's really all it is, right? It's not necessary at all because you have your higher levels. When you're in alignment with your higher levels, you can feel whether or not it's beneficial to, I'll just use myself as an example, to get on this horse, okay? I actually have a horse story like that. So, and it's beyond, yeah, it's beyond logic and reason, okay? It's not from the mind at all. So I'll just use this example. So, for example, a long time ago, I worked for this horse trainer, and I had just started there, and I didn't know how to ride a horse. I didn't know how to trot, I didn't know how to canter. And she said, I didn't know this at the time, but all of the horse trainers refused to ride this one off the track thoroughbred. His name was Jimmy. And she said, hey, Megan, you can ride Jimmy on our hack today, on our trail ride. So I said, okay. And I didn't feel any thing in my body. There was nothing telling me, no, don't do this. This is dangerous or anything. Okay. And we were, and it was an adventure. So we were jumping over streams, jumping over logs, cantering up a hill. I had no idea how to canter. And it was so fun, okay? But there was nothing in my body that was saying, no, it's not beneficial to do this. No, if you go this route, then the body may get hurt, okay? So even though on the outside, everyone looking at it on the outside was making judgments, like, I can't believe they put Megan on that horse. This, so, and it didn't logically make any sense because he was bucking everyone off. And I got on him and it was fabulous. So another horse story. Okay. So you can feel in your body whether or not it's beneficial. You don't need the ego to tell you, hey, don't go here, don't go there. Okay. So it's really, so when I'm going over a jump with Chance, I can feel it's going to be so fun. Let's go. So when Chance is like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. So you can feel when you come into the body, okay, out of the mind, and feel your presence with the body is a gauge for whether or not you're in alignment with your higher levels. Okay. So the mind's been programmed, the ego has its judgments. So that's not beneficial to listen to because it's biased, right? But the body does not have an opinion. It does not have a judgment. Okay. So the body is a gauge of whether or not it's beneficial or would be beneficial for you. Okay. So if you get an opportunity and the body closes up and feels very tense, then it's not in alignment with your higher levels. If the body feels open, then it's beneficial, then it's, go for it, right? So, but when also, if the body is picking up on the ego, then it might feel tense and constricted. So it's very important. Higher levels come on in, higher levels take command and put the ego outside of you. So, because when you're buying into the ego, the body will also tighten up too. So without the ego, put it outside of you and tune into your higher levels. Okay. Another example of that would be roughin. So riding roughin towards the ends there. Okay. If I was being very stubborn, right? So my ego was very big at that time. And I was not listening to my higher levels and I was not listening to my entourage. And if I was, and when I finally did, I said, hey, I tuned into it. Hey, this is not beneficial. Okay. But I have talked about that accident that I got on with Ruffin a few years ago now. And that was so fun. But that's just, it's, if I had been listening to myself, then I would have said, I would have not gotten on him. Okay. So, and eventually I did. And Ruffin and I have a great time together on the ground. So Marcia says, not having much fun in the sandboxes. Yeah, exactly. So some people are, that's great for them, right? So they are perceiving themselves. Let me explain the sandboxes more. So what are the sandboxes? What are you talking about, Megan? So sandboxes are judgments and beliefs you've made about yourself. Uh, so when you perceive yourself to be the body, so that's a sandbox. Okay, so the belief that you're the body, that's a huge sandbox that most of humanity is playing with, right? So, and that's where the perception that that we're in prison comes from, because the body, well, if you believe you are the body, then that's, you're getting stuck there, right? So it feels very constricting, it feels like a prison. So that's one sandbox. Okay, some people perceive themselves to be a mother or a father. Okay, it's an experience you have. Okay, but it's not who you are. But there's strong identities with it. Okay, some perceive themselves to be sons, some perceive themselves to be daughters. It's an experience you have, okay, but it's not who you are, okay? And then with all of those identities becomes all of the hooplas and judgments that come with it, okay? Some people, because they identify with the body, perceive themselves to be male or female, okay? That's a huge one for humanity. So if you're a female, you like this, you act this way, you are blah, 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 whatever society says. If you're a male, you act this way, blah, blah, blah. Those are also sandboxes. So making yourself smaller. Okay, many perceive themselves to be human. Imagine that. Because they perceive themselves to be the body. Okay, also a sandbox. Okay, I'm not human, you're not human. June is not a horse. Bear is not a dog. We are pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness, having an experience in a human body, or with a human physicality, or in the animal kingdom. Okay, that's an experience, but it's not who you are. Okay, so those are sandboxes. Okay, so, and those are just the simple ones. It can become more complicated. So many, this is one of my favorite ones. Let me get a drink. Oh. So many perceive themselves to be the chosen ones. Okay, also a sandbox. You are pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness. Okay, when you perceive yourself to be the chosen one, you're making yourself smaller. Okay, when you perceive yourself to be yeah, whatever, the job you do, the role you're playing in this, it's, again, creator is trying to find out who it is. We want to know more about ourselves. So you play in those sandboxes until you say, okay, no more, I'm not having fun here, right? But so many are still enjoying that. So let's let them. Okay, but for myself, I would rather play with the whole universe than in a sandbox. Okay, why would you want to play in a sandbox when you can play with the whole universe? Does that make sense? There's another part to this that I want to explain too. So when I say connect from the heart, so heart to heart, so many are connecting from mind to mind, okay, and then not really connecting. So let me explain this way. So you play in sandboxes, you have all of these filters, all of these judgments, so you can only go that far, right? You've stuffed yourself into a box. And oftentimes we're in relationships with other people who've also stuffed themselves into a box. So all those filters and judgments are in the way. So the love is behind it because the love is giving it energy. And then they're connecting ego to ego, mind to mind, which isn't really connecting with you, the love behind it at all. Okay, so you can feel the love, okay, but there's so many, the filters make it way more dense, so you're only experiencing a very small part of the love that you are and the love that the other person is. You can't feel it as much because you're in a box. Does that make sense? So if you come out of the box and that person comes out of the box, or really the animals, they don't have boxes, so that's why so many love to be around them, because they're so open. Without any boxes, pure love, pure energy, pure consciousness, the love is growing, and you're experiencing yourself, all that you are, and you're also experiencing everyone else and that other being that you're in a relationship with. Could be anybody, right? So a spouse, mom, dad, whoever, a child, right? So connecting heart to heart, right? So, and there's still, you can take all of your filters off, okay? Of course, there will be those that still have their filters, right? So you love them, unconditionally, okay? And if their boxes, their filters, who they perceive themselves to be, uh, all these bars that they put around their heart, if it's not enjoyable to converse with them, or some people have made themselves so small, really you're just talking to a mind, then yeah, for me, that's, it doesn't trigger me, but it's not beneficial, right? So I am not going to sit and have a 45-minute conversation with a computer. Right? So it would be like talking to Siri or Alexa, right? So it's just someone whose mind is totally programmed by mass consciousness, and the light is in the background. So I love them. I love that being with all my heart, but I'm not interested in their ego or their mind. So I'm just going to go over there. Right. So that's that option is available to everyone. So coming back to the heart doesn't mean that you are a doormat, or that you have to do things or bend to other people's will to be a good person, or whatever that means. That's also judgments and boxes and hoopla, right? So it's just, it's what do I enjoy, and then just experiencing that, right? So let me go back to the Patreon chat to see who has questions. So Jessica says, let's answer, I'm going to answer Lisa's question first, and then I'll get to Jessica's. So Lisa says, are peaceful protests, marches, rallies old or new paradigm? What about whistleblowers? Are they on the cusp? Some often rather low vibe, but very necessary. So low vibe, it's, that's relative, okay? So it's just what is more, yeah, if you're listening to someone and it feels very dense, or like they're trying to, the energy is drawing you in, like they're pulling your energy, then that's really someone who's coming from the ego, right? So because egos, they need energy, right? So they're trying to get you to buy into something. So it's, again, when you're listening to someone, how does it feel within your body? So call in your higher levels, call in your presence, okay? So, and whistleblowers, they are sharing their experience, they are sharing their truth, okay? But that doesn't mean that it's true for you, or that it's your truth. Okay, so they've had an experience, uh, and they're sharing. Okay, and why you're tuning in, that's really a question for yourself. So what are you getting out of it, right? So so that's really a question for yourself. But to answer your question about the peaceful protests and rallies, so let's tune into that for a second. So it's not about, again, saying, oh, well, that's old paradigm, losers, you know? Hi, Gabriella. So, or you guys aren't awake. I'm awake. you guys are stupid. I am the chosen one. That's not what this is about, right? So that's again from the ego making more boxes, right? So, oh, those people over there, they're losers. They're the old paradigm, right? So it's not, so it's again, it's not from the mind, and that's also from the ego. So the perception that you are aware of certain things and so that makes you better than others, that's totally and completely the ego. So the creator does not know competition. The creator is not better or less than another creator. You are who you are. I am who I am. Again, so the perception of better and less than, that comes from judgment in the mind. Okay, so peaceful protest rallies, those are people who, they are, again, it's about why are you doing what you're doing and where are you coming from. So for myself, i I don't, well, I don't even have a will. So trying to find the right words for it. So I would never, well, I don't know better than anyone. Okay. So I'm not going to try to convince others to see it my way. Okay. So, but peaceful protests, rallies, they are speaking their truth. Okay. And it's just about where are they coming from. So let's use an example here. So, you have, let's use abortion for example. Okay, so you have pro-choice people and you have pro-life people. Okay, so they both rally, they both uh, speak their truth. Again, it's their truth, it's not the truth. Okay, it's how they see it, so that's their truth. Okay, so pro-life, pro-choice, and they both are rallying to get support for their cause. Okay, basically to get people to buy into their ideologies. Okay, so they have judgments and beliefs, and they are speaking to, and again, everybody has good intentions. Okay, so even people who commit genocide, they justify, they have beliefs, they have made it so many judgments, so many beliefs. Okay, they believe that by basically getting rid of another race, that they are saving the world. Okay, and then and they are the chosen ones and blah blah blah. So it's, they don't perceive themselves to be the bad guy, right? So they have the truth and they are the good ones. That's what everybody believes. Okay, that's how they justify their actions, right? So and then you bring God into it. So we've talked about it before. So these are all beliefs, judgments. It all comes from the mind. So, but let's go back. So you have both sides that are rallying, they're speaking their truth to gain support for their cause. Okay, so they are speaking, they're trying to get others to believe what they believe so that they can somehow feel peace or get something out of it. So they believe the world would be a better place if everyone believed what they believed. Okay? How common is that in the human race, right? So with religion, we've already used that example. They all believe the same thing, but they still all feel so alone. Okay? So that loneliness feeling, it's because there's that your higher levels are waiting to join you. Okay, it's that missing piece within yourself that you're trying to find. Okay, and just trying to find, we've been doing it by trying to find our way home outside of ourselves. So both sides are trying to get others to buy into what they're saying. Okay, so there's an agenda there, right? So believe what I believe, and then you'll be saved, or things will be great, whatever. And then they're fighting each other, right? They're debating each other, and they're butting heads. And I'm right, and you're wrong. And I love humanity, so I believe they have a choice. And I love babies, so I believe they should live, right? It's when you tune into it, it's, there's love behind it, but then again, it gets stuck in these judgments or boxes. And when you take all of that crap away, what you have is two groups of people, not even separate groups, what you have is consciousness, okay, that at the core of it is love, pure energy. And if they were to all take the boxes away and tune into the love, well, then the problems are just have come from the mind, right? So it's really up to for yourself, right? So whether someone wants to rally or protest, again, they're trying to find their way home. So let's let them do that, okay? But fighting opposing views, okay, and fighting to try to get others to see things your way, fighting comes from the ego. Why would the creator fight anyone? Does the creator know what fighting is? So that's a question for it's a question for everyone, right? So what does fighting even mean? Sure, you can, whatever, stab someone with an axe or whatever, or fight that way. But having an argument, what is that? Like, why are you doing what you're doing? What are you trying to achieve, right? So with the rallies, with the protests, what are they trying to achieve? What are they looking for, right? Uh, so both parties believe that they are saving the world, okay, but why does the world need to be saved? What's wrong with the world? And the answer is actually it's within their subconscious. They've made all of these judgments and decisions about themselves, about things that are wrong, okay, or decided that it was wrong, and that's how they're seeing the world. So the way to remedy that is to actually look within and not look outside of yourself. So if you're looking outside of yourself, ignoring whatever is going on within you, ignoring whatever is going on in your immediate reality, right? So oftentimes people feel very uncomfortable with their family situation, with their spouse or whoever, or with work, and instead it feels scary to make changes or to actually look at it and say, hey, why am I so unhappy here? So oftentimes they take it a step further and even look outside of themselves to politics, to organizations like that, right? And then it just snowballs from there, right? So the government, whatever, people are going to do what they're going to do. So let's actually bring it back home, and let's what we can control, what we can change is what's going on with us. Okay? So it feels very, let's just take the cross off our backs. Let's let the cross die, okay? So the reason things feel so heavy oftentimes is because we've been taught to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, right? So again, it's that theme. It's a savior complex. So if everyone did everything my way, then we would be saved, or everyone would be saved. And says who? So again, each and every being is finding their way home. They have their entourage. It's perfect. They're experiencing whatever they're experiencing. It's just an experience. It's not forever, right? And you can never die. So what is there to take so seriously, right? But the Savior looks outside of itself and believes that it knows everything. And so everyone needs to do things its way, and that's completely and totally the ego. The creator who knows it's the creator would never interfere with another creator's creation. Okay, so, and why would we stop people on their way home? They need that experience. That's why they're doing it, right? So when you see someone who is using alcohol, using drugs, you might know a better way for you, right? So you might know that's not beneficial for you, okay? But they're still figuring that out for themselves. So why not let them have that experience? And if they ask for assistance, then you can share with them, okay? But if they're not asking, then let's let them have their experience, and then if it triggers you, address whatever triggers you about it. Okay? So I use alcohol or drugs as an example, but it goes for everything, right? So if someone wants to vote for that president or this president, or They're doing whatever they're doing. They're finding their way home. So why would we stop them? And who are you to judge? Who are you to say, no, that's not the way home? So you know the way home for yourself, but you don't know the way home for others. So, um, Shy Mills says, a system was created for winners and losers, but I think we should be and do what is correct for our highest good and that of another. So, yeah, so that's how they get you to buy into it, right? So if you do what everyone else is doing, if you buy into the system, or in America, it's the American dream, then you somehow come out on top, okay? But it's not, that's all stuff that is outside of you. So being rich, famous, whatever, it's all finding your way home outside of you. So even if you win at that, right, even if you have everything that society says you should have, there's still that feeling. So people have gone that route, right? So celebrities, uh, the rich and famous, and there's still this feeling of emptiness inside. That's why they get into drugs and alcohol, because they have everything that everyone's ever wanted, but they feel so alone and lost then when they're on top now more than ever. Okay, so they've gone actually deeper into the matrix trying to be a winner instead of actually coming out of it. I'd rather be a loser any day of the week. I'm a big loser. So I want to answer Jessica's question really quick. So this is an awesome one too. Jessica says, my son wants to do motocross. I have a fear of him getting seriously injured, but it's the only sport that he truly loves. How do I get over this fear? I feel like you can relate being a horse girl. Yeah, so a this is a deep one, right? So because there's well, let's tune into it heart to heart, okay? So you want what's best for him. Okay? So but see, you're playing the role of mom, so telling him, okay, brushing your teeth is beneficial. It's recommended to wear clothes in society, right? Uh, and all of that stuff, right? So it's from a place of guidance. So you're there to offer him guidance, okay? And coming from the heart, parenting, uh, for myself is most beneficial without the fear. Okay, so parenting from the heart without fear involved, right? So he's said, Mom, I want to do motocross. I love it so much. And you can feel that. So good job. So let's give ourselves a pat on the back. So you're open to that, right? So you're connecting with him heart to heart, right? He loves it, and you know it would not be beneficial to tell him no, right? So no, you can't do that. No, you can't try that, right? Uh, so okay, you wear a helmet, uh, and pads or whatever, and maybe help find him someone who knows how to motocross, unless you know how, right? And orchestrate it that way, right? So that's what you can offer, right? What you don't have control over here, and this is a wonderful example, is you're not in control. Well, control is an illusion anyways, but his body, his life is actually his responsibility, his higher levels, okay? Um, and his entourages, okay? So so you're there to offer guidance. So he has obviously it's common sense, wear a helmet, wear the pads, whatever, and then his higher levels and his entourage take care of the rest, okay? So you're responsible for the guidance part, but you're not responsible for his life or keeping him away from his higher levels, right? So he's actually the more you let up, the more you give him let go of control, okay, and open your heart, the more it allows him to open his and let his higher levels in. And then what happens is he can feel his presence, right? So when he's about to drive this way or do this trick or whatever, he can feel his presence, whether or not it's beneficial. So his light, his love within the body is his guiding light, right? So isn't it amazing that that is created that way, so you don't have to be the one that is his guiding light? Okay, you are there to bring him up, to show him the ropes of how what it's like to be in a physical body, okay, until his brain can develop enough to make decisions for itself, so the frontal lobe is developed, okay, but you're not there to get in the way of his higher levels, okay? So danger, fear, again, accidents, there really are no accidents. So, because you are the creator. So, accidents happen when you're not in alignment with your higher levels. It's something that happens to wake you up. Okay. So, the more you, namaste, recognize the light within you and the light within him, it's his heart will open. Okay. So, that's what happens with children when you don't parent them from fear. You're not giving your fear, your ego's not in the way, so their ego that they came in with, or maybe develops, made some decision somewhere in past lifetimes, dissolves. And then their heart opens. Okay, so, and they can feel whether or not stuff is beneficial for them or not. Okay, so when you do it the other way, so the old paradigm way, so I am bigger than you. I am better than you. I know what's best for you. I'm older than you. I am your mother. I am your father. I am your God. And the ego comes out and they're battling. Okay. That's when children shut down. They make decisions and they put themselves into boxes and they put bars around their heart. So the babies that come in, they're very open, but then you may start to notice mom and dad project their egos onto them. They start to go to school and they start to buy into mass consciousness and they put those walls up. Okay, if we address our ego and open our hearts, then that won't happen. Then the children will stay themselves, their egos dissolve. Okay, so every toddler, that our ego, they're all egocentric because it's how the brain works. Okay, it's about survival at that point, but it dissolves. Okay, and then their hearts open. Okay, and that's where they're really moving from a place they know within them what is best for them. So it is just for you, Jessica, what triggers you or your ego about it, it's best to address in like a group Zoom session or privately, or you can do it with your entourage. Okay, so because it brings, I know it brings up a lot for you, but that's just the short answer. So what if we just, yeah, obviously use common sense, right? We're not gonna just let the children run out into the street when cars are coming, right? We let them know, hey, uh, if you do that, a car could hit you and it would hurt a lot. And so let's look both ways, right? And they feel the authenticity and then they're open to what you're saying, okay? But if you say the same thing and come from a place of fear, and even some people parent like this, you're an idiot, like they'll, it's the energy, they can feel the energy, and you might not use these words, or not you, but that dear one might not use these words, right? Coming from a place of you're so small, you're an idiot. Why did you make that decision? And I know better than you when you have to do it my way. Then the kids, they feel that within their beingness, and that's when they start to make decisions and shut down. And that's where parenting gets very difficult because it becomes like anything else in the old paradigm, the battle of the egos, okay? Instead of opening up and letting that dear one be who they want to be, show you who they are, right? And you share the love that you are with them. It's up for you and everyone else to decide what really is the most fun. Okay, uh, so anyways, well, thanks for being here, everyone, and I love you all. And I'll be back with more videos, and have a wonderful rest of your week. And until we meet again, bye now.